Today we are going to discuss certain Python programs through which we are going to understand the logical concepts behind or logics behind certain programs. Here is the first program. This code has a function. Because it has def here, def stands for a function and this is the name of the function. Right? This is the argument for the function and here is the definition of the function. And you want to call the function, here is what you are calling the function like. So the same name should be here because there's only one argument. You are passing one argument from here. So what is the job of this function? If I run this program, you will see it will give me 4 and 3. So number of digits here is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number of digits here is 3. That's what we get. How does it work? It takes this value 1, 2, 3, 4 here and y is initialized to be 1. Y indicates a number of digits. That is initialized to be 1. And then if x is greater than 10, if it is greater than 10, so suppose if it is not greater than 10, then it will come out of this loop and it will say it has only one digit. Because if the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it could be it's of only one digit. Either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They all have one digit. And then if it is more than or equal to 10, then you are going to divide it by 10 here. And then you increment it. Okay, so once you divide this here and then you increment, y gets incremented, then you repeat again, the loop repeats until the number is less than 10, which x is less than 10. So if I'm going to print, let's say I'm going to print x here, okay, see what happens when I run my 1, 2, 3, 4. So first time it becomes 123.4, second time becomes 12.34, third time becomes 1.234 and the y gets incremented, right? And similarly, if I am passing in 12.45, 124.5, it becomes 12.45. And see, the next time it becomes 1.244999. This is due to precision of floating point numbers being stored inside Python. Simply, you are just repeating the loop. The loop is repeated. Only when the loop finishes, you return y. Y is nothing but the number of digits present in the number. So it starts with 1. If it is greater than 10, increments it. Meanwhile, it also divides it by 10. Let's take the next program here. Here is a program where you are passing in 3 arguments here, A, B, C. It has to find which two are the largest of these numbers or bigger of these numbers and then square them and add them. So let's say if A and B are larger, it will do like a square plus b square. Okay, so a is greater than c and b is greater than c. So meaning c is the smallest value, or a is greater than b, c is greater than b, meaning b is the smallest value here. So you take a square plus c square. If a is smallest value, then it is b square plus c square. So basically here, find out the two large numbers and then just square them and add them. So I'm passing 1 to 3. Here, the two large numbers are 2 and 3. So it is 2 square, which is 4, 3 square, which is 9. You get 9 plus 4, which is 13. Let's say if I change this to 5, for example, then it should be 5 square plus 3 square, which is 25 plus 9, which is 34. So let's talk about something on tuples. Okay, here is an example of tuples. So here is a tuple here. And if I'm going to run this tuple, right, if I'm going to access 1, 2, what is 1, 2? This is basically 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So this is tuple of 1 refers to this one here. And if you say tuple of 1 of 2, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, you get 2 is 4. This is why you got 4 as printed here. Okay, you got 4 here. If it is 3, 1, so it is 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. This is 3 here. For 3, this is 3 of 0, this is 3 of 1. So you get number 1 printed here. And if you try to go 3, 1, 1, there's nothing like this. So it cannot script over. It cannot go anything beyond it. That's why it says it is not subscriptable. For example, if I'm going to write 2, 0, which is 0, 1, and then a 2. For example, let's comment this line and see what happens to the next line. Okay. So I'm commenting it. I'm just saving it. Run it again. So here you see it again says 20 is not subscriptable because this is a single number. It cannot be subscribed as element 0 or element 1 and so on. So if I want to print that number, let's say I do like this, tuple of 2. Okay, Tuple of 2, it is supposed to print the 3 number here. So there is no, it is not a set, so it's not a tuple to get like 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's why you are not able to get it. Next, let's take a list of elements here, a tuple here. You're passing a tuple, and then the pass tuple comes here. If the tuple is empty or tuple is 1, it has only one element, you return an empty tuple. You just return something empty. If not, what you do is you are going to get only the odd index in this tuple. So for example, this is index number 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, index 5, 6, 7, and 8. So if I'm going to run this code, let's say I'm going to run this code right now, right? So I should get 1, which is, this is 0, this is 1. So this is index number 1, this is index number 3, this is index number 5, this is index number 7. So I should get these numbers 1, 3, 3, 7, which is what I'm getting. If I'm passing with only one single element, please note one single element means if the length is 1, it returns null. So that's why I'm getting an empty 1. Really, I'm just getting an empty tuple here. So let's say I'm going to run this. Now I get an error. Why? Because even if it's an empty tuple, you must have a comma. This is important here. So let me explain this part of the code, which is important to understand. For the range of the tuple's length, so if the tuple has 10 elements, then it will be 0 to 9 and so on. You take like I, which is for each value, each index. If it is divided by 2, which is not equal to 0. So meaning, if it is an even number, you will get it as 0. Okay. This is a mod operator. So you'll get the reminder operator here. So if it is 0, if it is equal to 0, you don't go here. If it is not equal to 0, you are just adding it to the tuple. Okay. So result, which is actually empty tuple here, plus equal to tuple I, comma. This comma is very important, otherwise it won't be added to the tuple properly. So this is tuple of I. It takes a tuple, which is basically why it's called tuple, because this is the tuple is the argument you are passing, and this is passed as an argument here. So you get this tuple. Tuple of I indicates the index here. Okay. So this is the next program. Let's see some other program right now. Okay. Moving on. Here is an example where you are passing some of these values. Again, a tuple you are passing here. It's going to add the sum of even numbers and sum of odd numbers for you. Okay. So even and odd. So here it's going to add 1 plus 2 plus 5. Okay. These are 3 numbers you have here. 1 plus 2 plus 5. So these will become 8. And then 3 plus 4, which is 7. So we get 8, 7. Right. So how does it work? It goes into the length of the value, which is basically val is the parameter or the argument here. You take it as a range in, so it will start from 0 to that length. And then if it is modulus is equal to, if the remainder is equal to 0, you add it to the sum value. If it is not equal to 0, you add it to the odd value. So this is some even, this is some odd. You add both of them, you return it again as this comma this. Okay, you're passing them as a result here. Right. So if I'm going to use a type of operator here, right, save it. I'm just going to run it now for you. You will see it is basically, it should be a type operator, not type of. So let's say type method here. So just run it and you find it's a tuple. So you are actually returning a tuple. Okay. Why do you return a tuple? Because it is in normal brackets with a comma. So there are 2 elements here. So you're just returning a tuple here. Let's moving on further. Let's say you have a tuple which is like this. It's a long tuple. So if I'm going to run it, I want to find the length of the tuple. It is 4. How come? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, many elements here. How do you get 4 here? The point is this: if you start this bracket, it ends here. This bracket, right? It actually ends a little far here. So this is the second, this is the first element, this is the second element, and this is your third element, and all the way from here you will have your 4th element. Okay, so this is your total tuple. Inside the tuple you have 1, 2, 3, 4. There are only 4 elements there. Next, let's talk about mapping of a function over another function. Okay, so let's save this, let's run this file. You get these answers here. So what are we trying to do here? You are calling a function called map, which is this one. Function receives Map receives a function and a sequence. So this is passing function called double, and then the sequence you are passing another map. Okay, you are passing another map here. Right, so it goes here. If you are passing a sequence, if the sequence is empty, it returns empty. Otherwise, it's going to call with the function the sequence. It is going to take element by element and call it. So let's go from here. For example, map of square comma x, function will be square, sequence is x, it is not empty because it is 1, 2, 3, 4. Comes here, it says function of sequence of 0, meaning it will take this one here, sequence on 0, square is the function, so square of 1 here, plus map of sequence of 1 colon this. What do you mean by sequence of 1 colon? It will take every element from 1 to the end. So it will be 2, 3, 4. This is the index 0, which is already done. So it will take 2, 3, 4 here. So it will become, this will be a list, or this is a tuple which is of 2, 3 and 4. Go back again, call the same function, and then it will be squaring the 2, then squaring the 3, then squaring the 4. So how do you do this? What do you mean by square? What do you mean by double? So double means it is x square and this is x into x, okay, square and double it. So this is 2x, this is x square. So that's the difference between them. So you're passing each number. So basically if I'm passing for square, it becomes 1 square, which is 1. Then I'm multiplying by 2, it becomes 2 here. Similarly, when I pass 2, it becomes 2 square, which becomes 4. Then multiply by 2, it becomes 8. Similarly, 3 square becomes 9, multiplied by 2, you get 18, and so on. So let's look for the next coding here. Here, what are we trying to do? You're passing a tuple here again to this function called square odd terms. So if you look at it, it's going to square the odd terms only. So here it is, if item %2 not equal to 0, so this will return only, this will only match odd elements. It will return, it will go back and do this, okay. If it is false, then it will say item comma tuple, okay. So it is just getting the tuples here. So if you go back and check this one, so you will see just passing it here, every odd element will be squared, okay. So let's try to run this program. So I'm running it here. So for the first one, I get 1, 2, 9, 4, and 25. So this is 0th element. This is the first element. This is the second element. This is the third element, right? So you check square odd terms only. So what are the odd terms here? So basically, it's going to get the tuple, and it's going to get item. It's going to take item by item, and then if the item is going to square them, okay? Then you get A. Remember, this is basically not printable. Because of map, it is not printable. If you write it as list and print, it will print. So for example, here, I'm not using a list here. So it just prints map object of something. It does not print the value. Okay. If you want to print it, just cover it with a list. Okay. If you do it with a list, then you can print it. So this will print a list for you. Okay. So let's test it out. So it prints the list here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay. So here you just call the function, and then if it is checking if the item is %2 is not equal to 0, then you do this. Okay. Let's move on. Next one, you want to do something about, you are given a list here, and you want to see what are the frequently used letters here. So if I'm going to run this code, it tells me 0, 1 and S. So if I make it larger and check, so 0 appears 1, 2 times, 1 appears 2 times, S appears 2 times. All others appear only once. Remember, this is a different uppercase R, this is a small c, this is K but smaller 1, this is small s, so they are different from the others. So how does it work, right? So you are calling most frequent letters, it goes here, and you are passing this thing here. So it's just passing it with a double list here. Okay, right, list of lists goes here, and it checks if it is a sentence, not a sentence. It is not empty, it has something else there. So it goes in and does call the function called letter count. It comes here first. For each word, okay, in that sentence, for each character, you just check how many times it is appearing. and then you print for C and F in frequency of items. Okay, it's going to print, or it's going to make a list of what is the number and what C is how many times, S is how many times, 1 is in how many times, like this. It's going to store them. Then comes here, it says max of for E in counts. So counts is basically the output of the letter count, which is a list here, as you know, right? It gets it, and then now it's going to check the maximum one, and it's going to get the maximum count. What is the maximum value? And for each of the E in the counts, if E of 1 is equal to maximum. Why E of 1? Because it has two parts. E of 0 is the actual character. E of 1 is how many times it is there, which is the frequency. If E of 1 is equal to max count, it will print. So here the max count is 3, and basically, 2, 0 appears twice, S appears twice, and then 1 also appears twice. That's why it prints 1, 0, and yes, it prints 3 of these elements because they are repeated twice. So let's print only the letter count function here. So if you go in and run this program here, so it will tell you how many times what appears. So if you just put letter count, it's not going to print. So let's print it. Okay, you can just print. Cover it with print. So now if you run it, it will show you C appears 1, S appears 2, 1 appears 2, and so on and so forth. So how does it work? How does this code work? It passes a sentence here. For each word, for word in sentence, so it's going to take like one by one. So when it's saying word, this one time, the first one, this is the second one, so this is the second time. And in this word here, you are checking for a character. And for each character you have, you just increment it, right? So you keep on adding, and then now you know how many times it appears, okay? So you can get the frequency, the character. So if the same character appears multiple times, you get the actual value, and then you keep adding to it, right? So this is how you will get it, like it appears 2 times, 1 time. So if it is already there, you just keep adding the number. That's it. Now let's see the next program here. Okay, so here is a program which has many functions. This is make queue, def enq, dq, size, who wins. Who wins is the actual method you are calling in. Okay, when you call it, it's going to call other methods. So you can see here, it calls other methods. So you're passing m, which is a number, and the players or these players. You pass this, and then it is going to make a queue, which is empty. And then player in players, it's going to do enq, it's going to add 1 by 1 to that list, each one, while, hell, jam, or whomever it is. And then when the size of the queue is greater than m, while it is greater than m, and I in range of m, enq, dq of q. So it's like you are calling enq, but with a dq. dq is like popping the element, okay? Right? It's going to take out the first element, like, and you want to get the winners of the list, right? So here, it's a size of q greater than 0, and then it's going to do this, okay? Winners is again another list, which is here. You're going to append to them the dq of it, whatever you're getting, you're going to add it there, and then you get the answers here. So if the size is greater than the q, then you add it to the winners. If it is not, you don't add it to the winners. That's it. It works like this. So how do you get the size of the queue? So you get queue is already generated, and then you want to do like, check the size of it. So these are some programs which we want you to test, understand the logic behind it, and then work through.